Hi. Uh, a very good evening to all of you. I'm sure we all have seen a doctor. Can I see any hand coming up saying, I have not gone to a doctor? Hardly any. I would, I would be surprised if someone says, I haven't seen a doctor so far in my life. We all go to doctors for medical conditions, for treatment. Imagine now that you have a cough, a bad cough, and you can't get rid of it with your home remedies. You go to the doctor, and the doctor gives you a medicine that may or may not treat the cough, but definitely induces a diarrhea. Now, won't that be a comical thing to do, to happen? And none of us would want that thing to happen to any one of us. But this is exactly what is happening when poison patients are taken to the doctors for treatment in most parts of the country. Why this happens? What could be the solution? I would try to tell you in the next few minutes, in a very brief talk, about how we can bring about a change in the treatment of poison patients. We all know that India is basically a agriculture-based country, economy. Almost around 70% of our population, they live in villages. And what is their first point of contact for healthcare needs? They go to a local PHC, that is a primary health center. In the primary health center, the doctor who mans that place is a medical graduate. He has a basic medical qualification, that is MBBS, as it is known in our country. The situation is not different in, say, the next higher center of the community health center, and even district hospitals, or for that matter, even corporate hospitals. The first point of contact, the first doctor who sees you is usually a MBBS. So that's good enough, not bad. But then, where is the hitch? The hitch is in the way these MBBS people are trained. We'll talk about toxicology first, and I'm not talking about other subjects or other areas of the practice of medicine. What I'm talking about is only toxicology. Toxicology is the science of poisons. It comprises of two aspects. One is medical toxicology, that is the treatment, the diagnosis, the treatment, the management of poisoned patients. And the other aspect is forensic toxicology. Forensic toxicology means the aspect of toxicology that deals with legal issues. We all know all poisoning cases have some inherent legal issues in them. So you can't separate these two things. Medical toxicology and forensic toxicology go hand in hand. And that is the entirety of toxicology as we handle them in the hospitals. The subject of toxicology in India is interestingly clubbed with forensic medicine. Why I say it's interesting is because this is not the case in many parts of the world. In South Asia, this is a very peculiar thing. You have a subject known as forensic medicine and toxicology. Whereas in other parts of the world, we have what is called as forensic pathology. And forensic pathology in those countries is a subspecialty of pathology. Here we have forensic medicine in its own. It stands on its own, and it's combined, clubbed with toxicology. As far as education is concerned, in India, so far, till a few years ago, till a couple of years ago, we had the Medical Council of India, which governed the aspects of teaching of budding doctors. In the graduate medical education guidelines that they had come out with, they have laid down elaborate objectives, learning objectives. You have the knowledge aspect of the subject, you have the skill aspect of the subject. In the both knowledge and skill aspects pertaining to forensic medicine and toxicology, you will be surprised to know that almost half of them, half of the objectives in both knowledge and skill, they pertain to toxicology. Why I am emphasizing this, you will just come to know in a few minutes from now. Gradually later on, this Medical Council of India has been replaced with the National Medical Council. The National Medical Council has also come up, National Medical Commission has come up with what is called as a CBME, or in its CBME guidelines, the National Medical Commission has enumerated all the competencies that a student should know as he goes to the grind of studying medicine. All the competencies that relate to toxicology, they have been put as core competencies. Core means they are a must. Every student must know them. It's not optional. It's not something like nice to know. It's something you have to know by the end of the course. And even in internship, what they have done, the change that they did is that now they have asked the intern to be aware of the cases of poisoning and to handle them. But the exposure given to them is very brief. So ultimately, all said and done, what is expected of a medical graduate now is to identify, diagnose, resuscitate, and refer. Will you be happy with such a situation? You go to a doctor, you say, oh, you're suffering from this condition, now go to that place. That won't work. You need solutions. You need answers. You would like yourself to be treated there itself rather than being moved from place to place. So, at this point, what happens is we teach toxicology in a way that the student only understands how to diagnose, the student understands how to refer. These are the people who are manning. Now we go back to what I said earlier. PHCs, hospitals manned by doctors having MBBS qualifications. Now, these are the people. Now, it's something like you are sending an army for the battle. You know that the enemy is armed with AK-47 rifles, and you are just handing them a stick and say, okay, come on, go and fight. So this is exactly what is happening now. So they are not well armed. They don't have the armamentarium to handle cases of poisoning. So what do? So what exactly they do now is, yes, they will say refer, and they give various excuses for that. They'll say, okay, you might get a better treatment there, so you go there. And on paper, they would say the person has been resuscitated and has been referred for better management at a higher center. Now, as far as coming to teaching of toxicology is concerned, what happens? We'll just see now. Have you ever learned to swim? How many of you here have learned to swim? Few, yes. Now, if you people are told that your coach doesn't know how to swim, he just knows the theory, he has just read some books on swimming, and he'll teach you swimming, how many of you would still continue to go to that coach? We don't trust him because you are in the middle of a pool which is 20 feet deep, and he says, I know the theory, I don't know what to do in practice. And then that's what exactly happens in toxicology as well. The Department of Forensic Medicine because toxicology is included in them, teaches the subject. The Department of General Medicine actually practices the subject, practices the treatment of poison patients. So there is a disconnect between the teaching and the practice of toxicology. So when there's a disconnect, the student fails to understand whether the one that has been given in the book is more appropriate or the one that has been practically being done is more appropriate. So they're confused. Moreover, both the subjects are taught at different times of the course curriculum. One was taught in the second prof, and the third, and the practice is being done in the third professional examination. As you all know, students don't read what is not asked in the examination. So what they read in the second prof has been whitewashed while they come to the third professional course of MBBS. And by the time they do their internship, they have totally forgotten what is toxicology. So because I have said toxicology has inherent legal issues, not many doctors would like to meddle with law. They won't like themselves soiling their pants with law. They would simply say, let them go, let the person go to another place. I shift the responsibility to some other doctor, let someone else handle it. So the patient is either not treated. There may be a few enthusiastic people out there, young doctors, who would say, no, let me try and let me do it. But then because they are not well trained, what happens? They act, but that act may be either detrimental or it may not be necessary in the first place. Many times we see people who come to us saying that we have been bitten by a snake. Not all snake bites require immediate action. You can just observe, wait. We can wait till symptoms come up. And then you can act. Because sometimes the cure is more troublesome than the problem itself. So once the forensic people, the people working in the forensic medicine department like me, because we are in the habit of attending courts, we are in the habit of legal procedures, if we are given the responsibility of treating toxicology, treating poison patients as well, we would not have any hesitation. We would be very happy because we know all the legal issues involved in management of patients. Anyway, we have been taught the subject of toxicology with a little training, because maybe we might have been rusted out all these years. With a little training, we can handle cases of poisoning. And it would be a win-win situation for both the faculty, the students, and the public. All will stand to benefit with that. And eventually, like we have already said earlier, students only read what is compulsory, what is mandatory, what will be asked in the examination. So if instead of keeping toxicology as a part of forensic medicine with a high chance of questions getting, you can skip a topic or two or more as an optional question. If that is converted into a compulsory subject, a separate subject which would be mandatory to clear for getting your degree, then I think the condition of poisoning patients in the country would improve a lot. Thank you so much.